in our white science book. Can you get to page 97? And while you're getting there, let me just remind you that natural resources are things that God created that are not man-made, but He put them on earth for us to use. We talked about water, and we talked about soil, and the fact that erosion is a big problem in some places, especially in some places of America. But we want to keep our soil where it's supposed to be, and not blowing through with the wind or being washed away down the river. All right, we looked on page 97, and it talks about trees. Trees are another natural resource. We get fruit and nuts from trees. We use wood from trees for many things. Most houses have a frame that's made of wood. Many kinds of furniture are also made of wood. Even your notebook paper is made of wood. Trees can be replaced, but we still need to use them wisely. Trees take years to grow. We must be careful not to cut them down faster than newly planted trees can grow. Spencer and Pixie's daddy works for a company called Idaho Forest Group in Idaho, and they are all about planting new trees all the time and maintaining forests, taking care of the forests. And part of why, recently, I guess recently, there have been so many forest fires in the summer times. And there have been firefighters that have had to go from Spokane to other areas to help these firefighters fight these big forest fires. And it was not so when I was a little girl. Yes, every once in a while there'll be a forest fire somewhere. But not like today. Today the summers are filled with forest fires, and the skies are full of smoke, and people that have lung problems can't breathe very well because of all the smoke in the air. It's a very sad situation. And I asked Ray about it, that's Spencer Pixie's dad, why is it so bad today when it didn't used to be? And he said it's because that we no longer take care of our forests. One of the ways we take care of our forests is that we go through and they burn the underbrush, and they be sure that it doesn't get too crowded with trees, and it doesn't get too crowded with brush that grows under trees. So they maintain their forests a lot better back in the olden days than they do today. And today, one little spark and then everything is just a big mess. And it's very sad because, like the book just said, it takes a long time to grow a tree. And animals have to be displaced, and people's homes sometimes are in jeopardy. And so forest fires are not a good thing. And Smokey the Bear, what he says, he's always saying, put your campfire out. Be careful when you have fires. And you see a lot, if you go into Idaho, you see a lot of Smokey the Bear signs. He's always holding a little sign saying, it's really dangerous today because the weather is so hot, so be really careful with your fire. And he's trying to warn us, be careful with your fireworks, or be careful with your campfires. And he's always the warner guy. He wants you to be careful. So we need to be careful with our trees. They are very important to us. And because we use we use the wood from the trees for many things. Turn to page 98. Fossil fuels. During the flood, this is the flood with Noah, some living things formed fossils, but most living things died and were crushed, and their remains formed fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are natural resources. We use fossil fuels to produce energy. Oil, coal, natural gas are fossil fuels. Some sources cannot be replaced, but some resources can be replaced, but we cannot replace fossil fuels. We use them for heating. We make gasoline for oil. Gasoline powers many cars, trucks, and other machines. Fossil fuels provide a good source of power, but they also cause pollution. Pollution is anything that makes the air, water, or land dirty. Spilled oil can destroy plants and animals. When we burn fossil fuels, we can cause air to be polluted. You sometimes can see the dirty air in cities where there are many cars. God gave us fossil fuels to use, but we should use them wisely. You can help conserve these resources. Most electricity is made by burning fossil fuels. Turn off electrical things you're not using. This helps conserve fossil fuels. And you can see a picture there of pollution on page 99. I've never lived in a big city like Los Angeles or Detroit or Chicago, one of the big cities where they have so much pollution in the air, and the people with breathing problems they really suffer if they live in these big cities. All right, so we learned about fossil fuels, how from the flood, that's how they got started in the first place. That's kind of an interesting thought right there. And when you get to be in 4th grade, you'll learn a little bit more about fossil fuels. For the next 3 pages, they talk about how you personally can take care of the earth by reusing things, by reducing things, and by recycling things. And you hear a lot of talk about that today. Remember, however, that in the Christian, our viewpoint is that the earth is made for us to use, but is certainly not made for us to abuse. So as a Christian, we do what we can to reuse things, to reduce the amount of trash and so forth, or the amount of water that's being used, to recycle things. That is kind of our responsibility as well. But we are also realizing that the earth is here for us to use, and there has to be this balance. Many of the conservationists, those are people that they believe in, we shouldn't use absolutely anything, and the earth is supposed to, they're going to try to keep the earth lasting forever and ever kind of idea. But we know that that is not going to happen, that one of these days Jesus is going to return, and he's going to change this earth, and he's going to create a new heaven and a new earth. Reusing, reduce, and recycling is a good part of a Christian's life, to be responsible. Of course, you wouldn't trash stuff, like throw stuff out of your car window. You would, you pick up papers you see on the playground. You would try to do everything you can to keep our earth looking nicely. But it's not all about the earth. It's about you doing your responsible piece. But it's mostly about you realizing that Jesus is the one that created this earth. And he said we can use it, and we need to use the things that he has created in it wisely. That includes the natural resource, all those natural resources we were talking about, for water and fossil fuels and soil and trees. Those were things that God said, I've given them to use, for you to use, and please use them wisely. All right, so next week we are going to change from natural resources into talking about a big unit of health, and we'll talk about that on Monday morning. And we've got some interesting things that we're going to learn about your skin and about bones. All right, talk to you on Monday. Bye-bye.